If you've been writing CommonJS for years and you start converting code to ESM, the first thing you'll notice, usually because something breaks, is that ESM is always in strict mode. You don't add use strict to ESM files. It's automatic, mandatory, and cannot be disabled. Strict mode in JavaScript prohibits several patterns that were legal but considered bad practice. You cannot use undeclared variables. This prevents accidental global creation from a missing var keyword. You cannot delete variables or function parameters. You cannot have duplicate parameter names. Octal literals like 0777 are not allowed. The this value inside a function called without context is undefined instead of the global object. Most of these affect only poor practices that you shouldn't be using anyway. But the global object change can catch you off guard in code that relies on this for object initialization patterns. The second change that breaks real code is the disappearance of ___ dirname and ___ filename. In CommonJS, these are injected as parameters to the module wrapper function. They always contain the directory and file path of the current module. In ESM, there is no module wrapper. The two variables simply don't exist. The ESM replacement is import.meta.url, which contains the file URL of the current module as a string. To reconstruct ___ dirname and ___ filename from it, you use two functions from the URL module, file URL to path, converts the URL string to a file system path, and then path.dirname gives you the directory. It's more verbose than the CommonJS equivalents, but it's explicit and correct. Any existing code using __ dirname or __ filename must be updated when converting to ESM. This is one of the most common migration friction points. One of the most frequently asked questions about modern Node.js development is, can I mix CommonJS and ESM in the same project? The answer is yes, but the rules are asymmetric and important to understand precisely. Direction 1: ESM can import CommonJS. If you have a CommonJS module, something using module.exports, you can import it from an ESM file using the standard import statement. Node.js handles the conversion automatically. The CommonJS module's module.exports object becomes the default export of the module from ESM's perspective. If module.exports is an object, ESM may also detect named exports from its properties, but this behavior has limitations and isn't guaranteed for all cases. For reliable interop, import the default and destructure from it. Direction 2: CommonJS cannot statically import ESM. The synchronous nature of require is incompatible with the asynchronous three-phase loading of ESM. If you try to require an ESM file, you get an error, err_require_ESM. The workaround is dynamic import, const module equals await import, /esm module.mjs. This works from CommonJS but returns a promise, which means you need an async context, or you use .then, at the top level. This asymmetry has real practical consequences. If you publish an npm package as ESM only, CommonJS callers cannot use it with require. This is why the npm ecosystem has seen significant friction around ESM adoption. Many packages either stay CommonJS for compatibility, or publish dual packages that include both CJS and ESM builds. The dual package pattern uses the exports field in package.json to specify which file to use based on whether the caller is CJS or ESM. Now that you understand both module systems in depth, when should you use each one? The book gives you a framework for making this decision, and the ecosystem has developed clear conventions since the book was published. For new projects that you control entirely fresh applications, new internal libraries, use ESM. It's the official JavaScript standard. It has better static analysis properties, which means better tree shaking in bundlers and better IDE support for auto imports. It will outlast CommonJS. Browser JavaScript already uses ESM natively, so using ESM in Node.js keeps your mental model consistent across environments. For packages you publish to npm, the decision is more complex. If your package is only ever consumed in Node.js environments by modern applications, ESM is fine. If you need to support older Node.js versions below 12, use CommonJS. If you want to support both ESM and CommonJS callers, use the dual package pattern with the exports field in package.json. For existing large codebases applications with hundreds of CommonJS modules, a full migration to ESM is rarely worth doing immediately. CommonJS still works. The migration has real costs. A pragmatic approach is to use ESM for new files and modules, leave existing files as CommonJS, and accept the interop rules as the boundary between old and new code. The dynamic import mechanism is your bridge in both directions. The most important thing is clarity. Every file in your project should be unambiguously one or the other. Mixing accidentally, by not understanding the rules, leads to the confusing error messages that fill Node.js Stack Overflow questions. Know the rules, make explicit choices, and document those choices in your project's contributing guidelines.